Hello, thank you for listening to and watching You Had Options. This episode I have Chris Wrenn from Bridge 9 Records, Sully's brand clothing. Talk about the history of Bridge 9, talk about the history of Sully's brand, talk about how your favorite Bridge 9 artist probably sold Yankee Suck stickers and shirts outside of Fenway. It was a great conversation. Check out, Bridge 9, at Bridge 9, spelled out, on social media. Sully's brand clothing, on social media. Go buy some stuff from the Bridge 9 store on their website. Go buy some Sully's clothes. Ben Affleck wears it, so it's got to be good. But yeah, thanks to Chris. It was a great conversation. Go follow at youhadoptions on everything. Go to thehandsomescoundrels.com/shop to buy some merch. Yeah, just thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Happy to.
How's
how's the sound?
It's good.
Good.
Yeah, it sounds fine to me. Yeah.
Great.
You're in your new store right now.
Yeah. Figured I'd get the wall of vinyl behind me.
Hell yeah. How is the new store doing?
It's thank God we're open. We got the keys a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
To the space, and it took that long to kind of demo, renovate, build it out. But we're very thankful to be open.
Is this the first Bridge 9 brick and mortar store?
It is. Yeah. I mean, so we've always had like a warehouse and an office, but we've never had like a public facing retail space. So after having been in the place that we were in for 14 years, I'll give you a little backstory. So we were in a couple towns over, and we're just getting through COVID. We had a skeleton crew, and the gentleman that owned the building we had been in for all those years was like, I'm selling the building. So we basically found out the new guy was coming in, was going to double or triple the rent. So we needed to find a new place. I mean, when we had originally moved in there back in 2007, we had signed a 3-year lease, and we were there for 14. So we're like, you know what, we're over this space. We want to do something new. The label has, changed a little bit. We wanted to do something where we were more engaged with the public. So open a store.
I saw there's a video I caught before jumping on here of you talking about what the store is going to be like, and it's kind of like a I don't know, how I guess the label is not slowing down, but being more concise. I don't know. What would you say?
We're not going to put out 20 new albums a year like we have, in the past. But and we're still, I don't ever want to be like a catalog label. We're always going to be putting out new releases. In fact, we just announced a new signing, our first in a little while, last week. But we wanted something where if we don't have a new record coming out that month, we'll come get the new one from Triple B, or Run for Cover, or like any of these other cool records that are on their way up.
Yeah. Who was the new signing?
A band called Roll Call from New York City.
Okay. Yeah. I checked that out earlier today. I saw it's got somebody from Outbreak in it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's cool. Is it Bridge 9 for like me, I was stoked whenever our friend Peter hit me up about having you on, because like Bridge 9, growing up in Mobile, Alabama, there was like a decent enough little hardcore scene, and kind of compounded with like Pensacola, Florida, that was close. And like going on like the Bridge 9 message board was a big part of like how we were finding out like new music. And
Yeah.
and like, I don't know, I saw Outbreak come through, I think on their Failure tour with like Youth Attack, and I was like, well, these are fucking rock stars, and I was also like, 17, 16 or something. So to me, any touring band was like fucking Aerosmith or whatever. So yeah, do you get people coming up to you telling you stories like that, where it's like,
oh yeah, well, it's wild because like I still am of the mindset of having just started my label, like,
really?
Well, so think about this. Like when I was I remember being 18 years old and meeting a guy that was 23.
Yeah.
And I was really into snowboarding. And I remember thinking, like, how is this guy still snowboarding at 23?
He's ancient. Yeah.
Have like but as you get older, like, I remember when I moved to Boston, I was 23, and the oldest guy in the scene, significantly, was 38.
Yeah.
Right. And like, it was like, it's really cool that this guy, is still coming to shows and still doing stuff. But it's wild to think 38,
right.
that's not old,
no.
But at the time, and from that perspective, it was. So, of course I'm 46 now. So like, I'm a dinosaur, I think, compared to, someone that's like just getting into it.
Yeah.
But I've always kind of had this where I still feel, like I'm, 20.
Yeah.
Kind of like just, it hurts in the morning when I get out of bed, more than it did back then. But I still have, that's a secret. Kind of, you still keep that mindset, and you don't look like when you look. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, when I look at like Bridge 9, like I still have the mindset that this is like this label that I'm just trying to start and try to do, and through the years, like I've met people that like the label has been important to them on different levels, and has meant certain things, and their perspective, is much different than mine. So yeah, when I love hearing, when people, talk about, bands that have been important to them, or, tours that they saw.
Yeah. It's, and I don't know. And now, it's, obviously the world's so different from when you started the label. Like, is it more just like experience of just doing it for a while? Like, I don't know, like I guess, how have you kept, I know this is like a cliche, silly question, but how have you kept it going? Or,
I mean, anything like this, even bands are the same way. Like, they're organic, they ebb and they flow. They have really great opportunities, and then they kind of pull back. For us, I mean, we've had, I'll meet people that are like, oh man, early 2000s Bridge 9, American Nightmare, Panic, the Hope Conspiracy, all these things that we were doing back then, like that was, holy shit, that was your time.
Yeah.
And then I meet people that are like, oh man, Bridge 9, late 2000s, like Crime Stereo, Polar Bear Club, Myriad, the Newfound Glory, Have Heart, that was your time. And then, a few years later, it's like Death Before Dishonor, Backtrack. I mean, we've been very fortunate to have not just been kind of pigeonholed to one moment, but we've, been able to kind of like ride different waves over the years.
Yeah.
And I think going through the pandemic, and then being told that we had to relocate, and with a skeleton crew, I mean, late 2000s, we had 7 in the office, and through the pandemic, it was like 1.5, right?
Yeah.
So we had a couple people that worked remotely. I mean, I was packing all the mail orders with my partner. Catherine, we were kind of like just trying to keep things moving. Things started to slow down. We didn't have certainly bands weren't touring.
Right.
We weren't signing new bands. So I think a lot of people were like, all right, what's going on with Bridge 9? You know, like, what are you up to now? So for us, it's been kind of like trying to kind of create what we want to do and change things up a little bit. When you do something for a long time, sometimes it gets redundant and you want to challenge yourself in a different way. And I think that this was a great opportunity for us to kind of build something physical, you know, because I don't know, I think everything just exists online.
Yeah.
For us to be able to build something where people can come and have a sense of community, I think that right now is the most important to me. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, like, I want to be the guy that's like sweeping up in front of the store.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
like, you know, like waving to the you know, the woman in the candle shop across the street and like, hey, you know, like I want to have like the sense of community. And, you know, I think that was something that there was more focus on after people were stuck kind of by themselves for so long.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because it's like, you know better than anybody. It's like sometimes a band puts out something and it feels like they're just putting it out like into the void. And so it's cool to see like, putting a face to the label and have, like you're saying, an actual storefront and have people you can like, I can see, like I can go see Chris, you know, at the Bridge 9 store.
That was always really important to me because even when I was coming up and I was looking at the labels that I was inspired by, I didn't really know much about them.
Yeah.
Right. I knew the bands, but I didn't know much about the inner workings. So when Bridge 9 really got some momentum in the early 2000s, like we put a webcam in our office in 2002.
Okay.
And we had blogs for some of our bands. And this is like pre, you know, all real social media.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to like let people see in, right? And we've just kind of like, this is just an extension of that. You know, now it's like physically come here. You know, we have records, we have T-shirts, we have, we're trying to build something that kind of pays respect to every band that we've worked with that's, you know, come before this.
Yeah. Are you gonna do like a Boston hardcore little museum shrine thing? I don't know.
We'll definitely have, you know, stuff from our history.
Yeah.
Ephemera and you know, like behind me, that American Nightmare banner that was, right. I painted that.
Oh, damn.
In the spring of 2000, you know, for the band to have, you know, behind the drum set.
That's cool.
And I ended up, I think they used it a handful of times and I held on to it because I was roommates with those guys.
Yeah.
So we've been hanging up in various warehouses, you know, over the years. And I was like, I need to showcase this because I think it's cool. So, stuff like that.
Have you, I'm not like a big sentimental guy, but like, have you kept stuff like that throughout the years from bands? Like stuff special to you? Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I kept all the mail orders from the 90s.
Really?
So like I have like boxes full of mail from people, you know, sending in $1 for a catalog or writing me a letter, you know, to when they order a T-shirt.
Damn. Yeah. So you're ready for to have a Bridge 9 through the years.
Yeah, but I mean, there's people that still mail order from us now, you know, online.
Yeah.
That used to send us cash in an envelope in the 90s.
Okay.
And so like when we had a box set of kind of paying tribute to our first 9 years that came out about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was maybe 9 or 10 people that mail ordered it that were 1990s customers. So I went, found their original letters, photocopied them with like the envelope and and then wrote them a personal note on the back because, you know, the fact that they were supporting us in the 90s and then coming back, you know, over 20 years later and supporting us was very significant to me.
Damn. Yeah, that's how you keep going. People still care. So that's that must feel good to be like, oh shit, somebody from 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Yeah. Do you remember like what the first like for some of those people, can you rattle off like what somebody got in the 90s of an order?
Yeah, so I mean, in the '90s, we only put out, I think it was 4 7-inches, so it was like one a year. Like, the label started in '95, first record came out in '96, and then it was like one a year.
Yeah.
But we sold a lot of T-shirts. We had a lot of different, and especially kind of straight edge themed, random T-shirts. And I remember I put an ad in the Victory Records catalog.
Nice.
And that hit every single person. Like literally, we got, I got mail order from 30 different countries and, all over the US from that one little ad.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of people that were like, hey, because we didn't have a website, we didn't have a catalog really. So I would just photocopy whatever we had currently available and make a little, like a flyer, and then basically say, send me $1 and I'll mail you our updated catalog and a sticker.
Yeah.
And I mean, thousands of those went out. Damn. So, wow. But I did have one kid. It was funny. A couple, maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago, I had a kid send me a photograph of his yearbook, like from when he was a senior in the 90s. And he's wearing one of our, like, kind of this anime girl straight edge T-shirt that we had made.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, check this out. This is cool. Like an hour later, I sent him a photo of his mail order for the shirt.
Damn, that's cool.
So kind of a fun full circle. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, it shows that you, like, obviously y'all care. It's like a passion project, or like, it's your life, Bridge 9, but you're also passion for it. It's not like, just send me your order or whatever, no,
it's never been a job. It's always been something I've been stoked about.
Yeah.
So
but Sully's, your clothing, your other clothing venture, what that's been I didn't realize that's been around for a long time too.
Yeah, so that started in the spring of 2000. So 22 years, which is wild. But basically, people didn't realize. I mean, Sully's is kind of known in the Boston area, but nobody really knew the connection between the two brands, between Bridge 9 and Sully's.
Yeah.
Because we never really pushed it. We never really promoted the fact that they both existed. So I would meet people that have heart fans that would wear our Believe in Boston T-shirts and not realize they came from the same warehouse. So, for the genesis story of how both brands came together was when I was trying to put out more records, I didn't have any money. I mean, I was working as an artist in Tower Records in their art department, making window displays. And I was making $7.50 an hour, which was actually better than minimum wage. But like, after you pay your rent and whatever else, there's nothing else to go into, like investing in a band. And that fall, I had moved in with 2 of the guys from American Nightmare, and they had just started the band. They had recorded their demo, and they wanted to do a 7-inch. And I was like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
My roommates and my friends, but my job was to figure out how to pay for it, right? Like, pay for the studio, pay for all the promotional materials, and basically everything to give them a push, because they were the first band that I was working with that was ready to just drop everything and tour. So what I ended up doing was I went to Fenway Park, which was only about a mile from our apartment, with friends, and sold Yankees Suck like bumper stickers made of T-shirts that basically kind of riffed on the rivalry with the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Yeah. Because you would have Fenway Park with 38,000 people every single game, a mile from your apartment. And as these people leave, I mean, that's a lot of people. So, I was already making all this kind of stuff for the label. So it was just like, all right, I'm going to make some, stickers and patches and enamel pins, and then go down and sell this stuff out of a backpack to these crowds of people that left. And the first night I made more money than I had from my regular day job for 2 weeks. Like my whole paycheck was smaller than the cash that I made in this one night. Yeah. So that became our go-to. And basically all the people that were selling this stuff outside of Fenway Park were all Boston hardcore punk fans.
Yeah.
And people that were in bands, people that were, all like part of that community. So we just went, sold a ton of this stuff, took all that money and put it into the record label, put it into American Nightmares record, and then put it into all the stuff that came out after that. I mean, for the first 5 years, like every dollar that I made outside of Fenway went straight into the label. But after a few years, we realized like this is almost a better business than the label. So like let's not just have this be like this weird kind of behind the scenes thing. Let's make its own brand. And so Sully's brand was born, and Bridge 9 just coexisted for 20 years.
Yeah.
In our warehouse, and like one side was Bridge 9, one side was Sully's. We would do mail order fulfillment, shipping to stores, for both brands, but not really talk about the connection between the two. So when this opportunity to open a retail store presented itself, the building we found is symmetrical. Literally, the left side is dedicated to music and records and stuff you see behind me, and then the other side is just dedicated to kind of Boston sports kind of centric clothing that Sully's makes.
Yeah.
So
has anybody from like the Red Sox, or I saw you have like some Bergeron shirts, have any athletes reached out and been like, come on, like, I don't know, try to be like,
it's funny. So we've had some great shirts that we've done in like as part of a collaboration with athletes. Most notably, we made so Joe Kelly was a pitcher for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Later, he was originally from the Cardinals. Then he went to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But he was pitching for the Red Sox, and it was April of 2018, and wasn't really a fan favorite yet because I think he had blown a game early in the season, like a few weeks earlier. And he went out there during this Yankees series, and basically a brawl started, on the field, and he was what's it called? He ended up getting punished for it, and but while it was under review, I think he had like 5 games he was able to pitch while they kind of like went behind the scenes to kind of figure out how to deal with it. We made a T-shirt that said Joe Kelly Fight Club. And,
nice.
The fight was on a Wednesday night. We had the T-shirt headed in Fenway Park the next morning. So literally, like, printed it the very next morning. Had people bringing it down to sell with vendors that we worked with outside of the stadium, and then also gave them to all the magazine vendors that we had a relationship with. Mm-hmm. So all the people selling magazines, when you go in, when you're walking up to the stadium, were wearing this shirt. And long story short, it got into the stadium. The news, like the news camera, caught it and featured, and it became this viral sensation. So I reached out to Joe Kelly through his wife at the time on Twitter and was like, "Can we use this to help your charity?" Because they had just announced, his wife, had seen like, "Oh wow, people love Joe now. Let's push it."
Yeah.
So we, reached out to them. They were like, "This is awesome." Their whole family had already ordered the shirt.
Nice.
And we kind of made it an official T-shirt and sold it for the whole season. And I think they ended up raising like $30,000 for their charity, with using this T-shirt as a kind of a value add.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've had a really good relationship with a lot of players where we've kind of been able to collaborate on shirts. We've also had some ones. I remember I was doing a golf tournament, and we had a member of the Bruins, not Bergeron, but we had a member of the Bruins walk up, and one of his buddies was like, "Hey, do you ever see any money from these shirts?" I mean, like, we're talking, it'd be like, pennies.
We're fractions here. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've been drinking all day. So he's like, "Yeah, where's my money?" And he's like, "Sully's, what the, And it was funny.
Yeah. Y'all are moving units. I see the shirts. Yeah. Is there like a living or dead, like, dream Boston athlete that you would want to do a collaboration with? that hasn't popped up?
Maybe, I don't know, Carlton Fisk, would be cool. I don't know. We definitely, I want to do some throwback designs.
Yeah.
So, maybe there'd be an opportunity to do something there.
Yeah. Do y'all have like Ted Williams shirts? You got Frozen Head Ted or something? I don't know.
I remember somebody did make a Frozen Head shirt. Back. No, we never had one.
Is that a true story? Did his kids really?
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, that's what I heard.
Damn. So how long you grew up in Salem?
No, so I'm
yeah.
from Central Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Was left there to go to school in Vermont.
Yeah.
And then I graduated from college, moved to Boston. Two of the bands that were active at the time on Bridge 9 in like '98 were both Boston bands.
Oh, okay.
So I'm to Mission Hill, which is a neighborhood in Boston. And I mean, there was probably a dozen kids from my high school that they're all into hardcore and punk that had settled there. So I joined them.
Yeah. It seemed like the right move. Yeah.
Yeah.
So growing up, where, because Boston, obviously, huge sports history, especially in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So like, are you die hard everything Boston now?
Yeah. So I was the town that I was in Connecticut. Connecticut's kind of split down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Boston. Up to Fenway, to catch a Red Sox game with my dad, and I was full Red Sox fan, of course, until I found skateboarding, and I was like, I don't like sports anymore.
Nah.
Because in Connecticut, that and in most places, there sports and punk rock didn't mix.
It's true.
Of course, I come to Boston, and it's like it's always mixed.
Yeah.
I mean, even bands like SSD Control, the guitar player had Boston Bruins stickers all over his guitars.
Yeah, man. Slap shot. You got 10-yard fight.
10-yard fight. I mean, not only. I mean, a band like Slapshot, obviously, like Choke is a legitimate, hockey fan.
Yeah.
You have a band like 10-Yard Fight, where it was more ironic. I mean, they weren't really sports fans, but it was kind of like almost punk to like something that other people didn't like.
Yeah.
I guess. More irony, but. Yeah, I mean, there's always been a connection with Boston sports and punk rock. I don't know if it's the proximity to the stadiums, to the venues, and to where punks would congregate. Actually, I remember hearing stories. So the kind of the one of the more important venues in Boston was the Rat, and that was right next to Fenway Park. It was like a block away from Fenway Park. And I remember hearing stories about Red Sox fans that would leave the stadium after a game, win or lose, drunk, and they would start fights with punks that were congregating on the sidewalk outside of the Rat at a Sunday matinee, or a show on like a Saturday night. And they would give out these little if you went to a Red Sox game, you might buy one of these souvenir baseball bats.
The tiny, like a billy club. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a billy club. And they would, you get these drunken Red Sox fans that would leave the game, the Red Sox just lost and they've been losing for 80 years.
Yeah.
And they've got this baseball bat. And of course they run into, and let's say this is like 1987, they run into some guy with a mohawk, a fight ensues. And so punks were oftentimes on the receiving end of vitriol of Red Sox fans. And I thought so for us to be able to kind of go in there and say, all right, now we're going to basically monetize the situation. We're going to, the punks, like the Kenmore Square kind of punks kind of left in the late 90s because the Rat closed.
Okay.
But when we came on the scene in the spring of 2000, it was dozens of hardcore kids that were now hanging out, half of them selling to, to Red Sox fans, and then the other half just hanging out because it was something to do. And that's where all the, people in bands and people in the scene were kind of hanging out on a random Tuesday night. And so to be able to kind of flip the script and go from, being on the receiving end of.
But yeah, so Sully's is kind of like a we're taking it back. We're taking kind of sports and punk, and
Pretty. I mean, we still kind of have. I mean, there is still kind of we don't really cross promote the two, but this
Gotcha.
retail space now kind of is an opportunity for people to come into kind of our universe and see like the music that we're involved in, and then also, the apparel and stuff that we've sold over the years.
Whenever whenever you're starting to like really sell stuff, did it ever cross your mind to be like, ooh, what if I make? They don't know it's me, but we're making New York. We're making Yankees. Red Sox suck.
So I don't think I would have ever done Red Sox suck, but I did. This is 15 years ago. Like I was like, all right, I've got Sully's tees because we call it Sully's brand now, but originally we called it Sully's tees.
Okay.
Like let's do like Vinny's tees and have like, get like somebody like Merch Now or somebody in New York to build a store and do fulfillment. We just, it was something that we joked about but never did. I mean, I want to focus on everything Boston.
Yeah.
So
I like it. Yeah. That would be like a. I don't know. There's some store like the Alabama and Auburn rivalry are huge everywhere in Alabama, and so there's stores that sell both. Like, Auburn sucks, or they call Auburn a cow college, as a inflammatory, and then they call Alabama people booger eaters. So and
there's somebody probably making a lot of money selling T-shirts.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I saw. So you've gotten Ben Affleck is a fan of y'all.
Yeah. So that's been very cool, and that helped us, quite honestly, to get us, through some of the quieter times during the pandemic. He had used our brand in that movie, The Town.
Oh, okay.
So that came out in 2009, and he's wearing one of our Believe in Boston shirts in the movie.
Oh, okay.
We had another shirt that Jeremy Renner wore in the film, and also like all the like Slane had one of our shirts in the scene, and a few other people in the background. But we also we became their go-to print shop for like, the Boston Fire Department shirts. They needed some like.
I gotcha. So yeah.
We printed that stuff too. I mean, I remember one day they hit us up when they were working on the film and needed, I guess they had ordered these hockey jerseys and they needed something printed on them, but no one did it. Yeah. And they're like, we have everything planned, like everything set up to film this scene tomorrow, but we don't have it. Like, can you do this for us? So we were able to print them for them and like drive them to the where they needed them. And but so being in that movie, and of course you had no idea what it was going to mean, right? Like it's just this random movie. We're like, oh, this is really cool. Obviously Ben Affleck at the time is a huge star. Like that's very cool. Yeah. We don't know, if it's going to matter or do anything, but the movie ended up being, being reviewed really well, and it was a cool movie, and our brand was pretty prominent in it. So it was like Christmas for us. I mean, we had, we were selling the few shirts that were prominently placed in the film. We were selling like hand over fist, and so that was sick. Now fast forward to, April of 2020, and the whole world has stopped. But that was also the 10th anniversary. 2020 was the 10th anniversary of the film. So I put together a package of T-shirts, of kind of Boston-centric Sully shirts, and mailed them to him and said, it's been 10 years since you included us in your film. And I mean, we've never forgotten that and appreciate it. And like the next week, somebody texted me a photo of him, like the paparazzi photo, like out wearing one of the shirts, and so he gave back to us and like repped the brand a lot during that time. Every time he left the house, it seemed like he was wearing one of our shirts, like multiple times.
Yeah.
So that was very cool. And then fast forward to the spring of 2021, so like a little less than a year later, we start hearing that Ben Affleck is going to be filming a movie in the area, and in the Boston kind of Beverly, where we're kind of our area. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Like maybe we'll get a chance to thank him in person. We get the keys to this new building for our like record store space and our warehouse on a Friday, and then on Monday we get a phone call from the location scout for that movie. Ooh. Saying we want to use your building in this movie, which was like, what are the odds of that? So like the movie was called The Tender Bar. George Clooney film. Ben Affleck was starring in it, and they looked at 30 different bars in Massachusetts to film this, to have it be this bar in the movie. And out of all of them, they chose the one that was right next door to us.
Nice.
So that was sick. So basically, we had the opportunity to meet him when they filmed the scene, thank him for repping the brand. He's of course since then, repped both Bridge 9 and Sully's pretty hard, which is incredibly appreciated.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like the weirdest alignment because, it was really cool that he was wearing our brand, but like to have our building, like it's not like they actually changed the whole front of our building to look like a 1970s photo developing like Kodak place.
Okay.
So they rented the space. They had the wardrobe, the extras, COVID testing was all done in our space.
Yeah.
So to have that cool kind of like opportunity where he was repping us, but then also to be in the film just seemed like crazy. And also for me, having just committed to this building, which was like the biggest move like I've ever made in terms of like trying to make it work.
Yeah.
It definitely seemed like the universe was saying, all right, you're on the right path. Don't sweat it too much.
I would think so. Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. You need how people like the Amoeba, like what's in my bag, video series. You need to get Ben Affleck in your store, just doing a what's in my bag of Bridge 9 stuff. Yeah.
Well, who knows? Obviously now, because when he was filming the scene, this building was kind of a shithole.
Yeah.
We are the third business in this space in almost 100 years.
Damn.
It was so hopefully that bodes well for us, but it was a car dealership from 1930 to 1963, 64. And then it was a glass company from 64 until last year, same business. And we got the building from the glass company, but they hadn't updated anything in 60 years. Like literally nothing had been painted. The electrical in this building was all fuses and like they had pennies,
Oh no.
Yeah. Like there was a drop ceiling in here, and the windows only went like 7 feet up, but the window space went 11. So like they had kind of retrofitted them with these like modern windows, but like not use the full space.
Okay.
So that's why it took us so long to renovate it. But so basically when they were filming this movie, this place was kind of shitty. And now, we have this pretty rad record store. So, certainly, come back if you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah. What was the most frustrating renovation part? Because that's a big building, and like I imagine like commercial renovation might be a little bit different to where there's more like protocols and stuff you can't kind of like just sweep under the rug.
Yeah, so there was a lot of things that I didn't plan for. Yeah. Didn't expect. They say it's going to cost twice as much and take twice as long. It did. So that rang true. But like all these things that you just never think of. And I didn't have a team of people to help me. Right. Right. It was in the middle of COVID, and we committed to the building in the summer of 2020. And didn't get the keys until spring of 2021, but we had to, petition the city to change the parking. Basically, when you have a commercial building with no on property parking, they assign you a number of like parking spaces that they think you're going to use based on the kind of business you have. And if you change that, then you basically have to go to the city and say, can I have like 2 more spaces?
Damn.
Because they say if you're an office building, you're going to have 1 employee for every 200 square feet or whatever it is. But if you're a warehouse, it's only 1 for every 1,000. So like,
oh, shit.
You change it and they think it's going to be more of a burden on parking. You basically have to go to them and say, can we please change it? But of course that means hiring a lawyer, having multiple, city meetings. They approved us, but like, it cost so much money. Like it's something that we didn't like plan on. Right.
Yeah.
And then of course, when we're renovating the space and we took the ceiling, the drop ceiling. I mean, the ceiling was basically below that banner, and now we have like 5 more feet. So it's a nice open space. But when we were pulling back some of the layers, we realized, the rust on these lintels over the windows is a lot worse than we had realized, right? There's some things you just don't know until you really start pulling things apart. And basically we had to hire a structural engineer, have him come in and say, that if you keep this way, the front of your building could fall on the sidewalk in 5 years. So we had to hire, a mason and a steel worker, and like they had to basically replace the lintels and weld everything shut and put like a 4-inch wide steel post in the middle of the windows on both sides. And like, I mean, all this crazy construction that like you just didn't, when I was like, we're going to move here, I didn't realize that was going to be part of what we're going to have to shoulder. So like, that's why if anyone has seen, like on my Instagram story for the last year and a half, I would post these daily updates of the work that was being done in the building, and a large part of it I was doing. I had help with a gentleman who's actually his birthday today, Larry Kelly. He is somebody that has been part of this process with me, kind of like helping renovate this space. But like my budget was blown from window, like structural repairs, and we had to convert our driveway to something that was ADA, compliant. So this building was built in 1929, so they didn't, there was no handicap access. So we had to like cut a window into a doorway and like lower the driveway from driving into the building, which we don't need to do, but it had been like the way the building was built, and make it into a loading dock and like make it so that people could use a handicap access, wheelchair access into the side of the building. But again, these are all things that like we didn't budget for. So, basically anything that was cosmetic, any demo, anything in painting, all that stuff, I ended up basically on my shoulders, and through Larry and a few other people that helped kind of volunteered some time to help us tackle this, because otherwise this wouldn't have happened. It was just too big a project. Just, in our short, time of encounter, you seem like a positive-ish person. So was there any moment where you're just like, man, this just ain't happening? It's kind of, there's definitely where there's a will, there's a way. We're like, our back's against the wall. We have to figure this out. We need to make this work. Certainly on paper, like looking back, it's like, oh God, what were you thinking? Right. I remember walking into this building after the closing, and I have the key, and it's been completely broom swept, cleaned out from the prior owner. And it's peeling and like dusty and like falling. It was just like, if you go back and see some of the photos that I posted from when we first moved in, it was depressing. I actually had a couple of employees for both brands that left at right around that time
Yeah.
because it seemed a little crazy to like take over this space and then build it out. And I think people were worried like, oh, is this where we have to work now? Because it was, it was a step down even. But now it's like an awesome step up. So it's just, it was a lot of stress and a lot of work. And I mean, it definitely aged me. I definitely have more gray hairs because of it. But failure was never an option. It was always like, we just need to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. Because you're like, all right, we already got the building. Did you find any weird artifacts in between? Like, oh, this glass company was, I don't know, doing like occult rituals or something. I don't know.
No.
Nothing cool.
The glass company, the owners of it are, he's a perfect gentleman, him and his wife, and they're still in business. They just moved to a like a less on Main Street kind of location because they're doing more commercial work. But I did find a lot of evidence of the car dealership that had predated them, which was very cool. Above the bathrooms, like the bathrooms are like this big warehouse with like 14-foot ceilings, but of course the bathroom only has like a 9-foot ceiling, so there's about 5 feet of space above it. And once we got up there and kind of looking around, we found all this mail, like promotional mail from the 50s, and it's like catalogs of for this car dealership, like how to sell, like this model of vehicle.
Yeah.
So that was just cool to see that. And I kept a lot of that stuff. I found like this, service area sign, like a hand painted service area sign, probably from the 50s, that was behind a radiator that, was no longer in use. So when we cut the radiator and removed it, this sign was just chilling back there. So like, that's something that I want to frame and put up. And
that's cool. I
found like this 100-year-old wooden screwdriver from when they built the building, like above one of the ceilings, just like it looked like it was like a murder weapon that had been placed.
A shank,
like up there. I'm like looking at it, like, why is this even here? But it's this cool artifact. So
a wooden screwdriver.
It was a wooden handled screwdriver.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Clearly, early 1900s. 100 years old. But then also like the steel beams that the building is kind of built on, there's like these big, like kind of like steel beams, and nobody had ever cleaned them. I mean, they had painted them at some point in the basement, but like the paint line like went above the dust line.
Okay.
And so when I'm like wiping, I'm just like cleaning everything, and there's a penny up there. And I pulled the penny down. It's from 1920.
Damn.
Like, this penny has been chilling for 100 years, like on this beam.
Yeah.
But that's a testament to like the kind of the condition we found the space in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was just nonstop painting and scraping. I mean, my daughter would make fun of me. She's like, so like, what did you scrape or paint or sand today? It's like, because that was what I did for months.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it seems like an undertaking for sure.
Yeah, definitely did not realize what I was getting into, and I would not want to do it again. But I'm glad that I did, and I'm hoping it's going to build a foundation to do like the next cool thing.
Yeah. Are you always like entrepreneurial thinking of like, what's another thing we can spin up, like another cool?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like my whole life, like since I was like 13, like I've come up with things that I could do to kind of, usually it's not so much to try and make money, but just to try and do something cool.
Yeah.
And then build it. Right. So like, one of the things that I'm right in the middle of right now. So it's, we're recording this in the middle of October, and we're in the middle of Halloween season in Salem.
Yeah.
And I just recently moved one town over to Beverly, where Bridge 9 is now. But for almost 20 years, I lived in Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter has been raised in Salem. And when she was 6 years old, she is a prolific artist. She was always drawing. So we would go to a coffee shop down the street, in the mornings, and she would sit and draw, and we'd hang out and play games. And I took some of her drawings and made a T-shirt out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never been interested with Sully's. We would do like kind of regional stuff, but I never made anything Salem because there's a million Salem shirts, and
right,
it's at the bottom price wise. If you wanted a $5 Salem shirt, you can find one.
Wow.
So, but I thought, let's do something cute with her artwork and make like a Salem shirt and see if anyone is into it. And so that October is like right before Halloween, went out with them and set up like, a little kind of table, actually we took her lemonade stand and made it into like a T-shirt stand and sold out of them, like just like that. Just like, that weekend, all gone. All the friends and family that I had hoped would buy them to like kind of like leave me a box of shirts. We had to do a pre-order for a second printing so they could get them.
Nice.
So basically, I used that opportunity with my daughter to show her, like, look, if you take your art and you do something cool, that you can create your own opportunities. Man. So she was 6 when she drew them. She was 7 when we first went out and sold this stuff. She's now 11, so it's our 5th year where we kind of are developing her own little brand. And I mean, she's got a whole website full of enamel pins, T-shirts, patches, coins. Like we made all this cool souvenir type stuff for people in Salem. And like right now, I mean, we're basically every weekend we're downtown, with like a table just selling this stuff to tourists.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw the Georgia, right?
Yep.
There's on the Sully's website, there's like a drop down. It's like designs by Georgia or art by Georgia or whatever. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like that, I mean, that was just one thing where it's like, all right, I'm passionate about this stuff. She's really creative. Like, let's see what we can do with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to do something to create something cool.
Yeah.
And that was just an opportunity to do something with my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the designs are cool too. They're, it's not just like, a dad being like, look at my daughter's stuff. It's like, it's cool designs too.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, she's talented and like we've just carved out like our own little niche there, there's just nothing else like that there. So, and I mean, there's so many people that come to Salem already, but like this year is off the hook. I mean, there's just mobs of people. So, man. All right, we got to deal with all this craziness. Like, let's have some fun.
The new Hocus Pocus movie just came out. It's October. People are starting to get out from their COVID holes. Of just being cooped up. Wow, stars are aligning. Yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, we've almost done an hour, Chris. What? I had just some Bridge 9 questions I was going to fire off, if I may. No. What was there a release that Bridge 9 almost put out that you couldn't put it out, but you're like, fuck, I really wish we could have put that out?
There's definitely been bands where I remember Comeback Kid was one.
Yeah.
That was interested really early on from their first record. And I was already working with a band that I thought was too similar at the time.
Okay.
I mean, there were other bands that that I've tried to work with, that I came close, but it didn't work out. I know that you had Frank Turner on your show. He was one that I love. I mean, that he's like one of my favorite artists, and wanted to work with him back in 2009, and actually sat in a tour band with him, pitching him, trying to
get the deal. Yeah.
I went to England with Polar Bear Club, and they were
cool.
Supporting. They were on tour with Frank, and basically like you like Sick of It All. I put out a 7-inch of Sick of It All. Like let's
do this. Yeah,
let's do this. And it didn't happen. Obviously, he had a really incredible opportunity that happened for him. But we kept in touch, and I would still go out to all the Frank Turner shows that I could when he was in the area. He actually kind of in a roundabout way helped this happened, and back in 2009 when I was trying to sign him, he played a friend of mine's backyard in Beverly, like here in the town that we're in.
Okay.
This guy Matt Pike, he's a booking agent, and Frank was opening for the Offspring, and was going to sleep at Matt Pike's house. So Pike went and got him, brought him back to Beverly, and said, "Would you mind, playing, some songs for friends of mine?"
Yeah.
And like the phone calls kind of went around, and there was maybe 20 of us that ended up in Pike's backyard. And Frank very graciously performed, half an hour set, a whole set to basically the Bridge 9, Death Wish, and like Converge kind of like crew.
Okay.
In Pike's backyard. And I filmed parts of the show, like the performance, with a digital video camera, and just didn't ever do anything with the tape. I just put it in like a shoebox, and literally 12 years later, when we're getting pushed out of our building and we got to move, and we're like going through everything trying to like consolidate, I found these tapes, and I was like, oh shit, like I wonder if I could do something with this. And this move was such a big kind of undertaking. I wasn't ready for it. So I thought, let's try and create like almost like a mystery box or like a vinyl release where people could help us kind of make this happen. Yeah. So we went through and found 5 recordings that had never been on vinyl, and pressed them as like this package. But one of the records was this live recording with Frank. So I had it mastered, and I sent it to him and said, told him what was up, told him about the move and trying to open this record store, and said, it's kind of it's a lo-fi recording. You can hear kids in the background.
Is it just the audio from your camera?
Yeah. Okay. But it sounded cool. Yeah. I sent it to him, and he was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. It's a cool moment. It sounds fine. Let's do it. So we pressed the 7-inch, didn't announce that he was a part of it, but like included it in this mystery box of records.
That's cool.
And then did press a variant for him to sell on his recent US tour. So we gave him copies, so to kind of thank you for letting us do it, and give him something to make with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so him playing in Beverly 12 or 13 years ago kind of came full circle with us opening a record store in Beverly. And I mean, he could have said no for 100 different reasons.
Oh yeah.
And totally, been nice about it. But I mean, he had a new album. He had a lot of other things that were in the mix that were happening at the same time. But he was like, yeah, go for it. So we were very, very thankful.
Yeah, I was shocked at how like reachable he was for me. Just like, I found an email address, and he was like, yeah, I'll do your podcast. I'm like, just some Joe Schmo, on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. He has a lot of qualities. He has a lot of the same qualities as someone like Ian MacKaye.
Yeah.
Which is like, I wish there was more of that in the scene, but the fact that there are people like that are available. And just like so humble.
Yeah. Especially somebody like at his level of like notoriety, or people, know who he is, outside of just punk kids or hardcore people. Yeah. That's a cool story. Yeah. Seems like a good way to end this thing. I don't know. Yeah, I had to go back and listen to a bunch of bands, Bridge 9 bands, whenever getting ready for this. And I think, I don't know, if I may interject myself, I think I like Get an Oxygen Tank. I don't know. Yep. That might be just because... Yeah, that was like, when that came out, that was like, I felt like the target demographic of like, this was made like for me. Yeah.
I mean, that was a Boston hardcore band of the early 2000s. And I mean, all those guys sold, Yankee Suck merch outside of Fenway Park. I mean, it was a real like moment.
Yeah. You probably like I wouldn't ask you like what your favorite Bridge 9 release is, because I'm sure like.
I mean, we've put out over 300 releases, which is wild to me. But there are records that are, I mean, so we're doing a Silver Edition series right now.
Yeah.
It started as part of our 25th anniversary, where kind of like the silver anniversary, we're doing like silver vinyls, silver covers. You can see a couple of them behind me. Basically repressing prominent albums, bands that and releases that were pivotal for us, either because they were obviously a big seller for us, or they were like a release that was just like a real moment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so American Nightmare was the first one that we did, and it was their year one 12-inch, basically the original 7 inches, and just did it all silver treatment. But that's a record where they were my roommates. They were, I mean, I went to their first like 20 shows.
Yeah.
Went to their first West Coast tour, the first European tour. So that was a very personal album for me.
Yeah.
But then like stuff like, Terror, putting out their first, kind of the Lowest and Low EP, Death for Dishonor. I mean, that was a band that they are such a hardworking band and have been around now for 20 years. But they were also like, I remember we did a music video for them, and it was on MTV, like on Headbangers Ball.
Yeah.
And, like I think it was the first record that ever was like on the Billboard charts, which was kind of wild to think for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's I've got my top 10. I mean, I probably won't name them all.
You don't have to.
I named a few of them.
Yeah. No, we can. You can tell me number one off podcast. But yeah, damn, Chris. Yeah, stay on for a minute. Thanks for doing this.
Happy to. Thank you.
For
including me.
Hell yeah. You had options, but you decided to talk to me. I appreciate it.
Happily. I appreciate your interest, and I
of course
care, and excited to do it.